Well, what if I'm not able to find anything good to say about him? I mean, this might take a while. I might have to get some help. Yeah, no, that won't work. No, that's not really, no. Oh man, this is going to be hard. Alright Brad, well after all this time that I've spent with you and all the wisdom that you were able to share with me, I thought that today I would try to return the favor and share some wisdom with you and maybe share seven tips on how to become a great pastor. I know that's what you're trying to do. So the first tip, I would recommend that you go purchase and that you collect as many books as you can. And then you should file them away into big bookshelves in your office. And then that way when everyone comes in, you can tell them how you've read every single one of those books. I mean, because that'll definitely impress everyone who comes in there, and they will think that you are a great pastor. The second thing that I would recommend is whenever you're teaching, use big words. You know, use a lot of Greek and a lot of Hebrew and a lot of words that really nobody knows how to pronounce. And then, you know, after a while, the congregation will begin to just kind of wonder, and some may fall asleep, and they won't have a clue what you're talking about. So at that point, they'll have to conclude that you are a great pastor. Thirdly, I think you ought to try to keep tissues close by, because the more you cry, the more that you weep, and the more you will draw the hearts of that congregation. So I think that you ought to cry more and have those tissues nearby, because there are those who are soft-hearted, and you will definitely gain their heart and make them believe that you are a great pastor. Fourth, of course you're going to stay up late, and you're going to get up early, and sleep is really going to be non-existent. So I think what you need to do is you need to drink lots of coffee. Coffee is good. Maybe get you a big old mug and sit it on your desk and keep it full of coffee all the time. And you know, not only will it help you stay awake, but it will also make you look very distinguished. That way you can always walk around holding a cup of coffee. And of course it will help you stay awake, but I think it will make you look like a great pastor. And fifth, I think you ought to try to connect with your audience. You know, all great pastors are able to connect with their audience. And so maybe, you know, since Woodland happens to attract a redneck or two, maybe you ought to take on NASCAR. You know, take on an interest in NASCAR. NASCAR is something that a lot of rednecks like, and maybe you could try to maybe even look like, maybe imitate one of those NASCAR drivers, which I don't think you'll have any problem doing. So take on something like NASCAR, and who knows, maybe you'll gain a few more rednecks because they'll come just thinking that you are actually him. And but that will help you to continue to develop into a great pastor. And sixth, to make up for maybe what God excluded in your stature, I would recommend that you talk often about your good looks and your charm and all of those things. That way the congregation doesn't focus so much on what you're lacking, and they'll focus more on all those positive attributes that I'm sure you'll have no trouble sharing often, very often. And then lastly, a pastor can face some sour moments, and just that the flavor of being a pastor can kind of dull. And so I would recommend keep Twinkies nearby. Eat lots and lots of Twinkies, because that'll make the pastoring taste so much sweeter, and it will never dull. And so always keep those Twinkies nearby. That will definitely make you be a great pastor. You may even want to put that cup of coffee next to the Twinkie, and maybe even have a book over here that you're pretending to read. I mean, all these things, I think you will do well and become a great pastor. I hope that you'll consider these things because I know that they have worked for other pastors, and so I thought for sure they would work for you. On a serious note, Brad, they did ask me to talk about a great man, one who has led this congregation with confidence and strong leadership, one who has been one of the greatest teachers that I've ever known about God's Word, one who has sought God more than anyone that I know, one who, despite many trials, has always considered it joy, knowing that God was never going to forsake him. You know, one who has mentored and equipped others to go out and to share and to lead. And, you know, one who understands that their purpose here in life is much greater than their own, or even this structure that is here before me. Oh, you said I have to talk about Brad? Oh, hold on. You'll have to erase all that. Brad, you definitely have been an inspiration. Seriously, you have been an inspiration to me and my family. Not to mention all those that are watching this video now. I just want to thank you for the time that we were able to spend here at Woodland. I can't tell you how much that I grew as an individual, as a child of God, under your leadership, under your wisdom, under your care in this flock. And I can only hope that some of your wisdom and that big heart of yours will hopefully rubbed off on me in several ways, and I'm able to share that now up in Kentucky or wherever in the world I may end up. But I hope that you realize that your influence really does extend beyond these walls. I know maybe sometimes it's easy to narrow your focus in on what's happening here, and the good and the bad and the ugly here at Woodland. But I want you to realize that what you've done, what you do for this flock is you equip us, you teach us to not just stay here, but then to go out. Folks like Stacy and myself who have gone on to now lead in other churches. You played a huge role in that. And for that, I thank you, and I hope that you realize that what you've done is not just right here in Cartersville. What you've done by following God's calling has extended beyond Cartersville, beyond Georgia, and maybe even beyond these states. So I hope you realize that, for your willingness to share and be genuine, real, relational, and relevant, we thank you. And I pray that God would continue to bless you and Jamie for years to come, and I hope that there are many others who are able to come through here and experience your leadership, your wisdom, and the great teaching that you're known for. So thank you, Brad, and we'll look forward to seeing you again.